For a rental business, your business really comes from three areas: traffic through your website, referrals from planners, referrals from venues. So when you're working with the same venues, from like a logistical standpoint, you learn their needs. So you learn, when does a venue allow setup? When do they allow teardown? Are they flexible? Do they allow you to come the next day? Do they have really small windows, large windows? All those things really matter. The best thing the venue could do is have a small list of preferred vendors in each category. So I think a lot of venues have a list of vendors that they recommend to their clients. So my client books them and say, hey, here's my list of people we recommend. They're going to have caterers, photographers, planners, and so on. I would say having a narrow list of vendors is a great way to do it.
Welcome to the Venue RX. On this show, we document and share best practices around owning, operating, and managing world-class wedding venues.
What's up, everyone? Jonathan here with the Venue RX, and I am excited about the topic we have today because it intersects with a very important part of venue ownership and venue operation, and that is the rentals that you're going to have on your property. No venue is complete without rentals. Even blank canvas venues, it's really important to kind of have some element of furniture, and absolutely, without a doubt, having a resource for the couples and the clients that you have coming into the space to actually give them a resource so they can bring in furniture. And so today we are bringing on this show Jeremy Laban. He is the owner of a successful rental company here in the San Diego and Southern California area. And I'm really excited to talk to you, Jeremy. So thank you so much for being here today.
Yeah, thanks for having me. Excited.
Yeah, this is going to be great. So tell me, just before we jump into this, tell me a little bit about Rustic, about kind of where you came from before Rustic, because you've been in this game for a while and you're pretty experienced. You've got a great inventory, and we've worked together for quite a while in differing ways, right? But yeah, give us a little bit of an intro on how you got into this industry.
Yeah, thanks for having me. Excited.
Yeah, this is going to be great. So tell me, just before we jump into this, tell me a little bit about Rustic, about kind of where you came from before Rustic, because you've been in this game for a while and you're pretty experienced. You've got a great inventory, and we've worked together for quite a while in differing ways, right? But yeah, give us a little bit of an intro on how you got into this industry.
Yeah, good question. So I got started, I never thought I would be in the wedding or event industry. It kind of just happened, not by chance, but I never planned for it. So I've always been entrepreneurial, always wanted to have my own business. I've always enjoyed people and sales, and just, I've always envisioned myself one day having my own business. When I was, I don't know, probably like 9 or 10, ever since that age, my dad, his friends would always kind of say they would see me being in like a business role. And so when I was younger, I never really knew what that meant, what that would look like. But my dad, he owned a landscaping company. He actually just sold it. He had it for 43 years, which is kind of cool. Him and my mom started it by themselves with the truck, just by themselves. So they grew it from them two in a little beater truck to 350 employees and multiple locations and a pretty big company. So my thought when I was younger was I would run that business. That's kind of my plan. So throughout high school, I worked with him on my summers, on the route, pulling weeds, digging holes, did that for a while. And then when I graduated high school, I went to school online while working full-time for him. Did that for about 6 years. And at the time, we had like around 100 employees. But we had about 80 when I started. And when I ended up leaving, we had, I think, around like 200. So I was there. There's a lot of growth when I was there. And the plan was to get through college, work my way up and, at some point, climb the ranks and take it over. And I remember, and it was a family business. So my dad owned it. My sister was a CEO. And then we had, as we grew, there was, more layers of management, but it was a real family business, right? I think at one point, my sister's husband was the director of operations, right? So it was a family business, lots of family drama and whatnot, which I didn't like. But I remember I graduated college and, we sat down, we had a meeting with my sister and my dad, and they were kind of like, hey, here's like the track for you. Here's the plan. And basically, they were kind of like, they basically, not in a mean way, but kind of like nudged me out. They're like, hey, like, I think that the path for you here is going to be slow. It's going to be long. I don't think it's really what you're looking for. We would encourage you to kind of, explore other options. I remember being kind of not heartbroken, but really like, whoa, like this was my plan and now it's not happening. And so I was really taken back by that. And, I spent a few months kind of like, pity party, super sad, trying to figure out what to do. Just finished college. I had all these great plans and I was super pumped out. And, I was exploring options. At the time, I was living at home. I was dating my now wife, but we were dating at the time. And I was saving money and I was planning to buy a house. And so I was, trying to figure out what to do. I was applying for jobs. I ended up getting a job somewhere. I was starting in 3 days. And out of nowhere, a friend that I know from our church, a couple of the small business, they had a rental company called Speckler Event Co. And they rented out farm tables and chairs. And they had a small 500 square foot warehouse, like really small operation, and they were selling. And so within 3 days, we ended up like talking and ended up kind of striking a deal basically. And I called the guy, I'm like, hey, like, I know I took this job, but I have an opportunity. And he's like, dude, go do it. Like, that'll be awesome. So I didn't take the job. I ended up just jumping all in on the business. And that was August of 2018. I invested, most of my life savings into it. I went all in on it. And it was great. Ever since then, we've just grown a ton. The next year, 2019, we bought another rental company. They were called CC Vintage Rentals. They did lots of like furniture and sofas and that kind of stuff. And we bought that company. And that was the year we formed our business that's called Wonder Event Rentals. So we actually have two companies now. We have Wonder and Rustic, but Wonder was kind of how we really started growing a lot. And so moved from our small warehouse to a 3,000 square foot space, just kept growing. Then COVID happened. That was horrible. We made it through. During COVID, we started up a moving business, kind of random, but I've always been entrepreneurial, like I said. So I had the trucks, I had the guys, I wanted to keep them working. So started a moving company. That was good for about a year and a half, kept us busy, started to actually grow pretty good. 2021 got busy again with the rentals. So we shut down the moving business and kind of went all in on rentals again. And then this last year, 2024, we just purchased a company called Rustic Events. And so this time we're not going to merge Rustic with Wonder. We're going to actually run them as separate companies. We're in Southern California, in San Diego. So Rustic, that company primarily operates in northern North County, like Temecula, Fallbrook area. So we're going to kind of keep that company running up there. But yeah, now we have those two companies and plugging away. We have a 6,000 square foot warehouse now, and we have some management and office gals and all that kind of stuff. So it's been really fun. It's been I never thought I'd be doing this, but it's been a ton of fun. So I'm liking it.
That is such a cool story. That is such a cool story. I love it. And I have so many different questions. I want to go back to something you said early on about family drama in businesses, because I run the business with my wife. We don't have too much drama, thankfully. But I'm curious from your perspective, growing up in an entrepreneurial family, it doesn't sound like by the time you got to the point, post-college or even at the high school level, that you hated it and you wanted to get out of it. And so I'm curious, were there some things that your dad or maybe family did to help you not hate it, to keep it something that you were pushing for or kind of had a trajectory and interest in?
They definitely gave me opportunities. So I started just on the route from the bottom really, and I worked on the truck for probably like 2 years or so, just doing landscaping, right? And then we were smaller back then, but there was at one point like one of the office people quit, and so they needed to fill an office role, so they had me do the office thing. So I started doing accounting and all the basic office work, and then did that for like 8 months, and then at one point, one of the account managers quit. So I did his job, and I was the youngest account manager now. Now I manage properties and meeting with property managers, which parallels nicely with venue owners and coordinators, like kind of the same idea. And so I started doing that, and I started doing sales. Like they really kind of let me just move up as things naturally progressed. And so they were good about that. And then we always had open communications. We always were kind of talking about the next steps for me. So when it came time for me to like move on, I kind of knew it. Like I was aware of like the plan for me to move up, and I knew it was going to be a long, slow process. And so we always had open communication. I think that was a big thing that helped a lot.
That's awesome. That's super awesome. For any entrepreneurial families out there, moms, dads, grandparents who are listening to this, that's something that I've struggled with a lot because we have 6 kids. Yeah. Like you were saying, you guys, want a couple more. You've got 2 now. How old are they?
My son is just over 2.5, and our daughter is 9 months.
That's awesome, man. That's a fun
boy. Is crazy. He's really fun, but he's psycho. And our daughter is sweet and gentle. So.
That's awesome. That's a cool pair. But yeah, so for any entrepreneurial parents out there, creating an environment where the business isn't the reason that the parents are upset or frustrated or some of those different things, and instead is kind of an empowering thing, I think does revolve around good communication and bringing the kids along in the process. And it sounds like that's what your family did. So that's really neat. That's awesome. So tell me about this kind of, because I heard a couple of key pieces of the story. You purchased the one business. Was that like an owner finance sort of deal, or did you come to the deal with cash, or how did that break down?
Dude, so I've really enjoyed buying businesses. It's been a great way we've grown. My mentality has always been like buy, not build. It's kind of been my mindset. Like when I started the moving company, we started from nothing, and the growth was just super slow. We, over a year and a half, it definitely grew quickly, but in terms of like revenue and employees and all that kind of thing, it's a slow process. But when you're buying something, what you're buying is a revenue. If you're buying the existing revenue the business has, you're buying their clientele, their reputation. It's not so much about the actual like products that they have. I think at first when I was first started it, I thought I was all about the inventory, but it's really about the name of the business. So yeah, the first one was a combination. So we basically put down 50%, and then they carried a remaining balance for 2 years. And then actually it wasn't monthly payments; it was a balloon payment at the end of the 2 years at no interest, which was really helpful and kind. The second business was a similar deal. It was 50% down, and then we paid it off in payments over 12 months. And then the other one we just did, we ended up doing cash on that one. So
that's awesome. That's so cool. We're going to have to talk after this off air about some different things, some different stuff. Cause I love your entrepreneurial spirit and the way that you're kind of growing these things. And it's super, super neat. But anyway, so I wanted to talk today specifically about kind of the interaction between venues and rental companies. Cause I think there's obviously so much overlap. And like I said in the intro, I think a really good rental company is required by a venue to be able to serve the needs of your clients. Like there's just no way that you can possibly offer everything that your clients are going to want, keep up with the changing trends and the different cool things that people are going to want unless you have a good relationship with the rental company. So with the venues that you work with specifically, what are some ways that you feel like venue owners can do a better job of working with rental companies? Maybe some of the things that you wish people knew when they start working with you.
That's what's my answer. That's what's my answer to going to be what I wish. I feel that so for a rental business, your business really comes from 3 areas. You traffic through your website, referrals from planners, referrals from venues. Those kind of like the 3 main ways. The easiest and highest quality work that we do, I would say, is from referrals. When it's especially specifically venues, when you're working with the same venues over and over again, a lot of things happen. But the first thing is, from like a logistical standpoint, you learn their needs. So you learn, when does a venue allow setup? When do they allow teardown? Are they flexible? Do they allow you to come the next day? Do they have really small windows, large windows? All those things really matter. Access, is there stairs, steps, long walkways? All those things really matter. When you're working at, someone's backyard, it's different every time you go. And those details really affect how smooth the setup process goes for vendors, specifically rental vendors. And so, working at venues, I would say one of the best things a venue could do is have a small list of preferred vendors in each category. So I think a lot of venues have these preferred vendors lists where they have a list of vendors that they recommend to their clients. So when a client books them, they say, hey, here's my list of people we recommend. They're going to have caterers, photographers, planners, and so on. Some venues will have an open list of 7 or 8 rental companies. Some of them only have 2, and some of them also will even require that you use their vendors only. And so that is one thing I think that really helps the venue and the rental company, because it gives more business to the rental companies, but B, it helps the venue know they can trust their companies. When you have a venue and you have a certain vendor that you used on a repeat cycle, that rental company wants your business. So they're going to make sure that they give you guys the highest quality, the best work. Like for us, we have a handful of venues where we're the only rental company that they prefer and use. And so whenever we have an event with them, my guys know to do the best work possible from them. That means if they ask you to do a favor, if they want you to move some of their stuff, that they do it. We're going to show up on time. We're going to have a clean, good product. We're going to be, well-dressed and well-behaved. Like all these things really matter. And when it's one of your top clients, you for sure want to, maintain that type of rapport with them. So I would say having a narrow list of vendors is a great way to do it.
Okay. Talk to me in terms of if you have a venue space, let's say maybe you're even building from scratch, because a lot of our listeners are considering building from scratch or maybe buying a place, maybe renovating someplace, what are some actual physical things that a venue owner can do to the property to make it easier for a rental company to interact with that property?
In terms of like access and whatnot, or in terms of like actual like products on site?
Yeah, access. I want to ask you later about the products on site because I'm curious kind of what is a base in-house list of things that maybe every venue should have. But I'm talking about like ingress, egress, your guys have to carry heavy farm tables in and out, like things like that.
Yeah, I would say for sure limiting stairs, right? So if you can have wide like ramps, right, wide walkways to get into the venue, doors, either roll-up doors or just large doors to get stuff on carts. Most of our stuff comes in on dollies and on wheels. Lots of venues, it's like a DG pathway, or it's gravel, or there's pavers, or there's stairs, and so everything has to come off dollies, right? You also want to think about like the landscaping you're doing. So if you do have grass, you do have DG. If we're going to wheel a big dance floor cart through all that, there's going to be tire mark now and things like that. So I would say, big concrete paths to get to the main areas is super helpful. In terms of like logistics, I would say, it's hard with venues because, when a venue opens, they're paying their staff to be there and to run the space. And most venues have, like a 12-hour contract with their clients or whatever it is. But I would say, large windows for setup and for pickup, that's extremely helpful. Some venues that, I know it's hard because if you book Friday, Saturday, and Sunday events, you want to have the stuff cleaned up Friday so it's ready to go Saturday. But anytime a venue can be flexible with pickup times, whether it's, coming the next morning or just late into the night. Lots of venues will give us like a lockbox code to lock up when we're done, so that's super helpful. All those logistics really matter. And yet at the end of the day, it also matters the way we price our contracts. And so, really we can give your clients better pricing when those like flexibility and those details are incorporated into the agreements, because it allows us to work at our schedule as well. So
that makes a lot of sense. I like the lockbox idea, like especially allowing, because a lot of times where the rental, like the venue rental begins and ends, there's of course a buffer for cleanup. And so, but being able to allow the rental company to come in and out, give us some best practices around rental pickups, because that's something in my experience running the venues that we run, the drop off might be on a Thursday. If you can't get there on a Friday, you might be picking up on a Monday, maybe even something like that. What are long and short windows for drop offs and pickups? Kind of give us some best practices around what you as a rental company like to see.
Yeah. So what I don't like to see is pick up from 10 to 11. Yeah. And that's what the hardest, I get it. Most venues do require that. So I'm not saying not to do that, because everyone has their way of earning things. So we, as a company, we have to come in and make sure that we make their venues life easier, and we will work with whatever window they give us. But, short windows are hard for a lot of reasons. But I think most venues do it that way, to where the event is from, 4 to 10, and, setup is from, 2 to 4, and pickup is 10 to 11. It's hard though, when the event ends at 10, what happens, a lot of the guests are, had too many drinks, or they're still kind of lingering around. We show up to pick up, we have to be out of there quickly. And a lot of times if we were providing tables, the tables still have tablescapes and florals, and there's guests around. So we're having to move quickly to get our products out of there. But it's there's this whole balance of working around all the vendors, you're trying to get out at a certain time. So that creates a challenge. Again, I understand it, but that's definitely challenging. I would, if it's possible for the venue, I would say just larger pickup windows is super helpful. Anytime, it just kind of goes back to having a small list of vendors, but like the venues that give us lockbox codes, I wouldn't recommend that for don't give that out to any vendor, right? But the ones that trust us and know us and we've built a connection with them, those are the ones that give us that trust. And so, that situation, it's good because I know the way they work. So when I'm booking events for that venue, then I know what their requirements are. I know when we'll need to be picked up by, when we can come, whether it's the next day or the same night. So, kind of a long-winded answer to say, if possible, just if you can, if it works with your model, grant flexibility. For sure, that's a huge thing if you can do it.
Hey there, pardon the interruption. I wanted to take a minute and share about Common Sense Events and the consulting and management services we provide. Common Sense Events has been a venue management company that professionally manages and operates venues all over the United States
for the last 5 years, and we've booked hundreds and hundreds of weddings. We've spent thousands and thousands of dollars on Google ads and Facebook ads per year, and we would love to help serve you at your venue if you're considering a new model of venue management. Now, this is perfect if you own or operate a venue and you're just looking to kind of have it be more of a passive investment for you, more of a real estate play rather than an active business that you run, or if you're a real estate investor and you're looking to purchase a piece of land but don't really know how you're going to manage it. That's where our team comes in. We do everything from the marketing, the sales, the operations, and we have teams in place that we hire locally to help you with all of those things. We manage those teams, we pay for the taxes, we do everything from setting up tables and chairs all the way to the final review of the wedding. So if that sounds interesting to you, we would love to chat with you. You can reach us at venues@cseventservices.com, and you can also just reach out on the podcast. You can send us a DM on Instagram, or even just click the link in the description of this video or podcast. Thank you so much. Now back to the show. That makes a lot of sense. When it comes to the sales cycle, so it's pretty commonly known that venues, most of the time, get chosen first in terms of that's kind of the first purchase decision. And so I think with that, this is something we haven't talked a lot about on the show, but with that, there's a weight of education, I believe. Because if the venue is kind of the tip of the spear of this whole industry, if the venue does a poor job of educating the couple who's the buyer on the cost of everything and kind of the overall experience that they're going to have, when they then pass off your name to, pass off your name as a rental company, Wonder, Rustic, wherever it is, to that couple, and the couple shows up anticipating X price, but really it's Y, now all of a sudden that makes your life more difficult. And that goes for planners and DJs and everyone else. So what are some things that you've learned kind of in the years that you've been doing this now? You're like 8 years in the business, something like that? Yeah. What are some things that you have seen venues do that make your life easier as part of the sales process, especially when you're a referral partner?
It's a really good question. A lot of venues want us to give them packages. So they kind of learn what are the items they need that most clients are going to want on a regular basis. So I have a handful of venues that we've just kind of given, hey, here's package A, B, and C. Package A is going to be kind of more basic, more economic. It's going to kind of be the basic things they need, tables and chairs, right? Package B might include tables, chairs, plus a lounge or like a sweetheart table add-on, right? And then package C will be more like a premium, like a photo booth, like all the bells and whistles. And so that's super helpful because that means the clients, in advance, I give the venue, hey, here's each package, here's the pricing, here's tentative pricing, including delivery and pickup. Now they can give that to their clients, and a lot of times it's in like a presentation format, so it has photos and it has the whole spreadsheet and pricing, so the client knows ahead of time what they're looking at. A lot of clients are surprised when they get a quote from us, including delivery cost and labor and pickup and all that kind of thing. They don't really factor those details in, and so when a venue has a certain has packages, they can kind of educate their clients, and their clients can kind of expect what they're going to be getting and what the cost is going to be. So then a lot of times it's as simple as venue or a client reaching out and saying, hey, this client wants package A or package B, and boom, it gets that simple, right? So that's one thing you could do. Another thing is just, I would say educating the clients on like the different quality of the company, right? So you'll have lots of people that do the same thing that we do, but it's going to be a tier lower pricing or a tier higher. And so the question always is like, why is your pricing, right? And so the short answer is, well, that's the value that we put on it. That's what we chose to price our products as. But I would say for venues to educate, to know their market, to know their vendors, and to educate their clients on the quality and the type of company that they'll be getting if they choose whichever vendor they choose, if that makes sense.
That's a perfect segue into the question I was going to ask next, actually, which is just around where you've positioned yourself in the market. We're talking on this podcast and the show to venuers that are all over the US, and we have venues from Connecticut, Alabama, California, and I've noticed there is, especially in more rural areas, there's not the same access to upper scale rentals. When I say a rental company, someone who is maybe in Connecticut, for example, might think of like a party rental company that might have plastic folding chairs and folding plastic tables and things like that. Could you describe to us a little bit of what you actually provide, what Wonder and Rustic provides, and kind of maybe those different tiers of expertise and quality?
Yeah, so we're definitely, we do more specialized rentals, right? So you just said it. There's kind of your basic party rental company that's going to do banquets and linens and, just kind of the more less expensive, less expensive type of rental, more simple. We're more on the specialized. So we do, so in terms of tables, we do carry banquets and rounds, but we do all like wooden style dining tables. We have your rustic farm tables. We've got your hairbin tables. We've got, blacktop, light wood. We've got modern tables, all types of higher quality dining tables, which they're nice because they don't require linen. So you just do like light decor on them. And then we do lots of lounge furniture. So, full on sofas and rugs and, whole living room type sets we'll do. So that's kind of more what we do. In terms of pricing, we're kind of like the middle tier. So there's the lower end, the higher end. We're kind of right in the middle. Everyone wants to be the highest, right? You want to be the highest priced vendor if you can. So I've always kind of played with pricing, kind of trying to find the sweet spot. I think for us, our current market, current size, current competition, I think that middle tier pricing is where we've kind of fallen nicely with. I'm content with it. It's healthy. It's a healthy way to run our business. And it seems, I always kind of tell people like it's a reasonable price point is what I would say. A lot of companies do the exact same thing and charge double. And so I feel like where we're at is reasonable. And I think I don't want to say affordable, but it's definitely, because it's more specialized, but it's definitely I think it's the right price point for our market. So
totally fair. And it sounds like it's attainable for the clientele that you're trying to market to. Was that?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yes.
So with that said, then your market is probably looking for some enhancements off of what the venue may already provide. How many venues do you work with, or do you see this commonly in the kind of Southern California area that you're working in? How common is it to have a venue that just is space only, absolutely no rentals, and they're coming to you for everything, including basic tables and chairs, if they're going to use them?
It's a good question. Yeah, when I first started, I would say, it was more popular to have a blank slate venue that was just the space, and then everything had to get filled with in terms of rentals. And so that's when I started. Now I'm seeing a lot more venues that, and I think it's because it's more competitive. But I think a lot of venues are trying to add as much as they can, include it in their base package in order to get the business, to get the clients. And so it's a healthy mix, man. I mean, I would say, 50-50 probably. Half the venues we work at have, it's empty, and half of them, just need certain stuff. Like lots of venues need like market lighting, so we just do market lights there. Lots of them want furniture, lots want tape, whatever it is. But yeah, I would say it's probably a split down the middle for sure.
That's super interesting, and you made me think. This is kind of like off of what I was gonna the track that we were headed down, but just kind of as a quick side note here. How do you think the industry's changed over the last 8 years that you've been in business? Like, how do you feel like the evolution of our industry?
That's a broad question. When I first started, so my dad, that was one of the things he was actually concerned about. He was like, hey, how are you going to keep up with the trends? What are you going to do when farm tables go out of style? Like all this stuff. And, there's unknowns, but I think whatever you're going to do, whatever industry you're in, like there's unknowns. I don't live in a way to where I'm going to live based off of like my fear and like my think it might happen. Like I don't think that's going to work out well. If I was living that way, I would still be working a normal W-2 job as an employee, right? So I think you have to be okay with some level of risk. In terms of how it's changed, I think for sure it's more competitive. Yeah, more competitive. I was listening to one of your podcasts that was talking a lot about inflation. That was a huge thing. And I didn't really thought about it, but yeah, the purchasing power of a dollar, like that matters so much in the way that you run your business and the way, if a job was a $5,000, order, 5 years ago versus now, like it doesn't feel like the same money. And a lot of that is because of inflation. A lot of that is because just, the economy that we're in. But, I would say it's more competitive, definitely. I would say, in terms of bookings, it's so last minute now. Like that's been one huge change. When I first started, it was very rare to get an inquiry and a booking within 4 months of a wedding. And now it's crazy how last minute weddings are. I had a wedding, about a month ago. I'm not exaggerating. It was 2 days before the wedding, and they wanted 15 farm tables and 150 chairs, and it was at an actual venue. And I was shocked. They called me, and it was on like a Wednesday or like a Thursday or Wednesday, and we had it available. And so we did it. We worked in our schedule. We got it done, and we did it. It wasn't because their vendor dropped out, nothing crazy. They just hadn't booked it yet. And that was the first touch we got from them. It's not like it was an open quote, and we haven't heard back from them for months, and they ghosted us. It was out of nowhere, they found us on Google, called us, and booked it. And that's a decent job. I said, could get a decent sized order for us. And I was blown away. I've had that same scenario happen to me, I don't know, 7-8 times the last year. I would say that was the most extreme because it was tables and chairs. Most time it's like they want the furniture, like the add-on stuff. But that was a big one. But I guess the main thing I'm trying to say is the how long couples are waiting to book things has changed drastically. So I would say right now most orders are booking like 2 to 3 months in advance. That's where most people book, and it's really hard to plan in terms of it's just hard to plan. How do you plan in terms of staffing and growth and making like a big decision for your business? How do you plan when you don't really know where the bottom line of revenue is going to end up for the year? Because it's also a lot of it's last minute. Now we still get people booking for next year, and we get those advanced bookings. I would say the majority are 2 to 4 months out. People are booking right now, so yeah, that's definitely challenging, and that's not everyone. But that's for sure a lot of the bookings right now. So,
pardon the interruption. I wanted to take a moment and share with you about WEVA. WEVA stands for Wedding and Event Venue Association, and it is a professional association custom built for venue owners and operators. We felt like there was a lack of resources, community, education, and networking available specifically for our industry. And so we recently started this association, and it's been growing by the day. We would love to extend an invite to you, so please click the link in the description or wherever you're watching this video, and we would love to welcome you into the community.
That's really interesting, and that tracks with my own experience. I don't know if I've mentioned this on the podcast either, but we used to work with Powwow and Hostess Haven to do their delivery. So when we had a staffing company prior to doing venue management, we would be like, they would contact us and say, hey, I need, these lounge sets or glassware, silverware, flatware sent up to LA or wherever. And we did deliveries all over. But I always remember those rentals were often, it was like venue, and then it was like pretty close on the heels was catering. And right around the time that catering would happen, then it would be rentals, glassware, it'd be some of those different things. And that's interesting because maybe that's indicative of people being less certain on the type of money that they're going to have available in the future or whatever. So they're going to wait till a little closer towards the end to just make sure. That's interesting.
It's bizarre, especially corporate. I mean, corporate has always been kind of last minute in my experience. But I think our biggest order revenue wise in company history booked a week in advance, and it was a corporate job. And that was last year at some point. But just wild, like these massive orders come out of nowhere, and it's like. But the hard part from my standpoint is, we try to have our schedule done about 2 or 3 weeks out. And so that way we can notify the venues and the planners and the clients. And so we have it done. And then you get this big order that you want to take, right? Because it's revenue, but it's how do you fit that in? You got to rework everything. And it's a whole, it can be a mess. And so, yeah, it's definitely challenging, but at the same time, we'll take it. If that's how it is, that's how it is. I think a lot of it is just our culture. And you think of like Amazon, like we don't plan very well. Everything is so like next day and so quick. Like, I think it's happened naturally, but yeah, that's definitely been a change I've seen over the last couple of years.
That is interesting, bringing up the Amazon thing, that we've been accustomed or kind of trained now more and more culturally that we're going to get things pretty quickly. And, next day shipping, same day. I mean, there's been things that I've ordered on Amazon same day and it'll show up, And so if that is the expectation, it's kind of like, oh, I need some furniture. Oh, well, even if you think about it, you might wait till the week before or something. And there's a huge amount of logistics, and Amazon's a massive company, but for you guys, a smaller company than Amazon, that makes a big difference.
In terms of so it's fun. I have like a running joke with some of my friends and my wife. So every Friday, my phone starts all week long. My phone, I get calls, but Friday, my phone blows up with inquiries for normally it's for Saturday, and it's always for like the basic. Our numbers on Google, so they think we'll supply like basic party supplies, but it's always like, hey, you gotta get 20 white folding chairs for tomorrow morning. It's like, nope, sorry, we're booked. But it's like every Friday, I just know like right around like noon, from noon to like 6 p.m., I just get a ton of calls every week. It's really funny actually how people think it's so like last minute and easy. And when you tell them, oh, we're fully booked, we can't deliver, like, really? You can't do it? I'm like, yeah, like that's in 24 hours. Are you even thinking about staffing and trucks and all that kind of stuff that goes into like what you're wanting, so it's fine. So,
yeah. There's something I posted on Instagram, and it was just the purchasing power of $100 and like how that related. And the purchasing power of $100 in California, they just grouped it by states, obviously, but it was $88. Like $100 gives you $88 of purchasing power in California, and then like 103 in Texas, In Alabama and Georgia, it's like 112 in Alabama, 104 in Georgia, Florida 98, which was interesting, less than 100. On the East Coast, 91, 95. So really interesting that like purchasing power, how that has gone down in inflation, and then how that relates to our ability as vendors to be able to deliver the products we're promising. Yeah. So when you think about growing the rental company and the types of services you're providing, obviously it's a competitive market, the products you're providing and all of that, and seeing that more venues are owning some of their own equipment, what types of equipment are you seeing venues own most often? And maybe what's a good base set for a venue to consider if they just want to order something basic that's going to meet 80% of the needs and then reach out to someone like you for the rest?
Yeah, I mean, I think a lot of it depends on like storage space, but for sure the most common is just round tables and like one set of chairs is for sure the most common. I mean, yeah, most venues that carry anything to carry that. So basic tables and chairs. A lot of people will have like bars on wheels, so they have a few like specialty bars that kind of fit the style of their venue, and they have them on wheels so they can, if the client doesn't want it, or if they want like a certain kind, they want to rent somewhere else, they can move it around. That's a big one. A lot of venues installing permanent lighting. We had one venue we used to work at in San Diego that they wanted lighting up in their ceiling, and they had like 30-foot ceilings, so they had a lift on site. And so back then, we actually were the only company they used, but they would hire us to do lights. And so literally every weekend we'd go there and we would install lights. It was super easy. Get one guy to do it. Very streamlined. One of the ones we had like a lockbox for, really flexible. They did that for a long time, but then through COVID, they actually started doing it in-house to help with revenue and whatnot. So now they start doing that in-house. But yeah, lighting's a big one. If you can do it permanently, or you could put it up for every event. What else? A couple do dance floors, which I wouldn't recommend that. But a handful that I know, mostly like the homes that are like venues, those guys, a lot of them have their own dance floors they'll install. A couple of venues have like specialty like wooden tables as well. River Gardens, one of your venues, right? So that's another one.
Yeah. Talk to me about dance floors. This is something that I'm really interested in because I think personally they're a pain in the butt to deal with. Give me the scoop on that. Like, oftentimes places will rent one in if it's like a grass area or if, you need a dance floor in the middle. But what have you seen be either a effective dance floor solution or, is it always those like wood with the metal bands around them? Is that really what kind of is the standard?
Yeah, dance floors are a pain. That's one of the things that we do as it's not so much like a revenue generator. It's more of like a service to a client, right? So if you're trying to get a sale that wants tables and chairs and the lounge and some lights, but if they have to go get a dance floor elsewhere, like that could cause you to lose that sale. So we added dance floors to help. Part of our mission is to offer as much as we can from one vendor versus our clients having to go to multiple vendors. The dance floors actually leads me back to your question about if you're like, renovating a venue or building one from the ground up, you should really think about where is the dance floor going to go. You should actually have like a designated space, in my opinion, of where they go. The surface really matters. I will not book a dance floor unless I know what kind of what is going on, because a lot of clients don't think about that kind of stuff. And that ground, you got to think about it. So the dance floor comes in typically 3x3 or 3x4 or 4x4 panels, and it gets bolted together with like an inset screw or some kind of like locking system. But you got to think about, if that ground is uneven, what's going to happen is you're going to have it's going to buckle and bend, and when you get 100 people on that floor, 50 people on that floor dancing, the pressure can cause that floor to disconnect and to buckle. I hate to say it, but we've had events we picked up and our floor is not intact when we got there, right? And it's because of the surface. The client might think, oh, your dance floor is bad quality. Well, no, it's the surface it's going on and it's the amount of pressure on it. So yeah, you really got to think through the surface. The best surface is obviously concrete. That's like I love hearing that. But we can do it on grass, but the grass it can't be wet. So we show up and the grass is wet. That's going to damage our floor. Moisture will get into the bottom of it. It has to be freshly cut. The grass is too long. That can be issues. It has to be level. I mean, there's lots of things with dance floors. We have two types. We have that one you described, just the standard like parquet, like commercial party dance floor. Yeah, it has the gold trim on it, like that light brown color. That's the best one in terms of stability. We have another one that matches our like wooden products, so it looks cool. People love the way that looks. but you can't put it on grass. I used to, and it would have issues with it. One workaround is doing like a subfloor. So a lot of companies will do that. They will install like a plywood base beneath the dance floor. So you can do that. That's a lot of work. It's not very simple. And then one thing to think about is if the ground isn't level, that dance floor, when it has pressure on it, it'll slide on that plywood surface. So if the ground is uneven, there's a chance that floor could shift a little bit, and now you have plywood exposed on one side. So
got it. So a lot to think about with dance floors. Definitely worth renting. I know we're really nerd, but it's one of those things. I mean, venues think about them, clients think about them, because it's, you know, a significant portion of the time is dancing. I want to bring back a question that I've asked some pros that we've had on here, but I'm curious about your least favorite part of what you do, and then your most favorite part about what you do, and then I'd love to hear just kind of what the future has in store for you guys, you know, Wonder and Rustic, and how you're positioned to grow.
My least favorite part, and I don't want to sound bad, but it's probably managing employees. I would say that's which any business owner is probably going to say, I guess, but yeah, managing employees is by far the hardest part of what I do. Now that we've grown and we have certain scale, so we have an ops manager who manages our warehouse and our inventory and our guys, and we have a few guys beneath him to support him, and then we also have our working staff. My primary time is spent doing things like this, meeting people, networking, selling new work, and kind of like managing the overall business. So for me, now is in a really good spot. But the years when I was in that ops manager role, that was that's when the years I didn't like doing it. I mean, it was it's hard work. People, employees that call out or they don't care about what they're doing, or that all, especially with the owner, that goes back on you. It's your product, it's your name, your reputation, and so managing employees, I would say, is probably that, and I would say the logistical part of the business. I'm really good at that part of it. I know how to do it. I know how to build a good schedule. I can do it quickly, but I just don't enjoy it. So that's that part. My favorite part, it's probably stuff like this, just meeting people in the industry and talking with them and getting to know them. And I really enjoy the booking process. I've always enjoyed sales, and I'm not what's the word? I'm not too aggressive or too, I really care about our clients. So I really enjoy getting them on the phone, just talking with them, hearing their story. Today I was talking to someone on the phone. It was the mother of the bride and whatever. So I just enjoy that. I enjoy the sales process. I really enjoy booking work and seeing the company grow. And I enjoy people. I really enjoy talking to people. So I do enjoy talking to our employees. I do enjoy, obviously, people like yourself and coordinators and all that kind of stuff. I enjoy that as well. That's a big part for me. In terms of the future, to your question, it's always, I don't know. I mean, it's always changed. I always kind of say to myself, okay, I'm done. I remember last year we bought a bunch of new chairs and hedge walls, all some stuff. I was like, okay, I'm done growing. I'm done adding stuff. And then this year we bought a new business, right? So every year it's kind of, I like to grow. I like to push. I like the idea of advancement and just kind of growing what I have. I really enjoy that. So I think we'll grow. My vision is not some massive company. I think that I want to keep running in lean. I think what I would like to do is continue to grow my business and actually go probably start other companies in other industries. That's what I would like to do. I would say, I really have a goal to pay my staff very well, especially my key players, my office staff, my managers. I want them to make really good money. I want them to have flexibility, the same flexibility that I have. I want my management to have that as well. I want them to feel like they are part of this with me and that their life is blessed and that is a good thing for them as well. So that's one of my main goals. And then, obviously through all that, ultimately I just want to be able to have more time with my family and have flexibility.
Yep. And a lot of that does come down to finances, right? If you grow your, it depends. If you want money just for the sake of money, that's great. But when money unlocks freedom, when money unlocks the ability to work with more talented people, when money is the unlock and is the energy that kind of opens these doors, it definitely becomes a means to an end, for some of these goals. That resonates with me a lot. I really like that. Yeah, definitely. I was asking that question kind of specifically in context of some of the larger companies. I can't remember. There's a big one that was recently bought, not Town and Country.
It was Town and Country. Was it Town? Yeah, Signature bought.
Yeah, okay, that's what it was. Yeah, I didn't know if it was, but when you think about Signature, when you think about Bright, or when you think about some of these really big companies, that that seems to me like probably maybe as big as like that. Those guys are at the top of the pile when it comes to revenue, staff, logistics in terms of trucks and distribution and things like that. And so I'm curious, why would that not be the path? And I know this is getting like really nitty gritty, maybe to like your mindset on business.
Question. It goes back to my dad. I mean, my dad, so when I was 9, we moved to Oregon, my whole family. My dad had his business in San Diego. And at that time he had 20 employees. They were doing all the Kaisers in Southern California, the hospitals, maintaining them. Again, my dad does landscaping. And I think he had 2 office ladies, and then he had like a manager. And we were able to move to Oregon, and we lived in Oregon. My dad, he would fly back here once every couple of months to come check on things. But most of my life, I grew up as a kid. We lived there for 10 years. So I was 1 when we moved there. I was 9 when we moved back. So ages 1 to 9, we lived there. So about 9 years. And my dad was always around. And when we moved back because the business was struggling. We had to do some stuff, but then they grew a ton. And he always told me that he personally made the most money and had the least stress when he had 20 employees versus 350 employees. And so you look at the scale and you just think like, is it really worth it? Like, I don't know. Like, I'm curious on how the owners of those companies do. Like, is that amount of pressure? I mean, I don't know. Probably 10 employees, and that's a lot of pressure that I feel. And we provide for them, and I feel that. And so I couldn't imagine having 350 employees. Like, that's pressure. And so I don't know though. That could happen. Like, I definitely want to be in business. I know that it's my calling. I know that I was built for this. I really enjoy it. I've always kind of just thought I would have like multiple businesses. It's going to be my mindset. Have multiple that are in the sweet spot. I think you're in that sweet spot of revenue and management and you can run it well and you maximize profits. Like, do that, get a guy in place who can run it and go start a new business. That's kind of my plan, is to keep doing that. And so I've done a few things. At one point I had a pool business. I bought a pool route, and I did it for like 2 years. Actually, we just sold it, but I tried that. And other things I will try. I don't know. We could be the town and country. Sure. Maybe. That's not my vision. But who knows? I mean, I'm very open. Like, I'm not set on it. What I've learned so far, I'm young, but I've learned that life can change really fast in either direction. It can turn bad really quickly, like during COVID, and then it can turn around really fast. And so I don't know what's going to happen. I'm not like afraid of it, but right now I don't have like a clear vision of what I want. If I had to say my vision, I would say it would be to get this company in a really good spot and to go start something new or go buy something new and go run that one. It's kind of my plan. So
I love it. That's awesome. Well, Jeremy, thanks so much for coming on the show and just kind of chatting about your experience, not only working with venues here in the local market, but also just how you've set up your business. I love, your entrepreneurial spirit and the trajectory that you're on and that you have been on. And so thanks for sharing that with us today. This has been great. I'm curious, for anyone who's interested, if you're listing locally in San Diego and you want to hire either one of your companies, Wonder or Rustic, what's the best way to get in touch with either of them or you personally?
Yeah, good question. I mean, you can reach out through their website. So Wonder is wondereventrentals.com. You just Google Wonder Events, you'll find us. Rustic is rusticevents.com. Just Google Rustic Events. I have Twitter. I don't really use it that much, but you can just email me. It's just jeremy@wondereventrentals.com. And yeah, you can reach out and we can chat.
And thanks so much for coming on the show today. This was great.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
Hey friends, Jonathan here, and I wanted to share about Common Sense Events consulting packages. If you are a venue owner and you're struggling with your marketing, your sales, your operations, or maybe there's just, you're new to the industry and you want to really have a leg up and get a jump start on getting your business going and not make a lot of the mistakes that oftentimes people make, the mistakes that we made, frankly, when we first started, we would love to chat with you and see if there's a way that we can serve you. Our team has experience working with over 10 venues all across the United States, doing consulting. We've hosted hundreds and hundreds of weddings at this point, and we know what it takes to be successful. If this sounds interesting to you, we would love to chat with you. You can either reach out by filling out the link in the description of the video or podcast, or you can just email us at venues@cseventservices.com, and we would love to chat with you and see if there's a way that we can serve you. All right, back to the show.